In this video, we'll be building a document. We'll build a simple document, one with no fields, one party, so there's no routing. Once we get that working, we'll test it as a standalone document. Once it looks good, we'll define a package and place that document in the package. To create a runnable instance, we'll be creating a transaction. We'll test it again to ensure that it's working, and when that is true, we'll talk about versioning when we promote it into production. Okay, so I'm going to create a very simple document. I'm already logged in, going into Programming, Libraries, clicking on My Library. Click on Documents, and then Create New. We'll call this document a simple document, give it a friendlier name. When you pick a name that is assigned internally, you must make sure that it's alphabetic and numeric. There's no special characters like spaces. I'll click Save to save that document, and it appears here. You'll notice that it says Simple Document, version 1, and it's still under test. I'll click on the page to edit it. Let's put the title in here. The document editor is a very simple HTML editor, and so I can use these controls up here to format my document. I've also got some text that I saved. It's the Open eSign Forms Terms and Conditions. I'll copy that and then paste it in my document. I can use the HTML editor again to change font colors and things like that. Let's turn this into a blue, and then I will save the document and test. Right now it looks pretty good to me. There's some nice things that I can do. Instead of calling this party a first party, let's call it the client and rename it. The display name is also client. Say OK and save. And that is building the document. Now that I've created my document, I need to create a package to place my document in. So I'll go into the Package tab. When eSign Forms is delivered to you, it comes pre-built with some templates that I'll use to build my new package. So I'll create new like, and I'll rename my package Simple Document. Description, same, and then I'll click Save. This is where I pick what forms go into my package. So in my library is my form that I built. I'll click and drag that document in there. The system recognizes that there's only one party in it. I need to do some configurations on this party, so go ahead and click on it. Let's take a look at what's available. The landing page for this particular party is the disclosures page. Because this is a one party as an external user coming in, signing, potentially signing, we want to make sure that the disclosures are displayed first to ensure that you are eSign compliant. In this particular party, he is using the simple document and he is the client. We're not going to do any re-notifications because he's going to come in directly on a link. So that looks good. And then I'll save it. And that creates a package with my document in it. So I have my package with the one simple document in it. I'd like to create a runnable instance of this package, and so to do that I need to create and define a transaction template. I'll use the eSign Forms delivered transaction template to do so. I'll click on that, create like. I'll give it a name, simple document, and description. The package to use is the package that I just defined with the one document in it, and then I'll click Save. Things to note on this transaction template page is the definition of production versus test. Here you can see that production is disabled. Production retention is exactly that, how long to keep the transaction in the database. In this particular case it's set to 2 days. This is unrealistic in a live environment. You would normally set this to 2 years or something longer that makes sense. In the test side, keeping the test transactions retained for 2 days is adequate. So I'll leave that like that. The final thing to pay attention to on this particular page are the permissions. Who can run this transaction? Permissions to access this transaction template is who's allowed to modify this template just created. More importantly are the permissions for transactions. And so this dictates who can start transactions, cancel, reactivate, and so forth. In my particular example, transactions started externally, so I need to make sure that I include this group. And then I'll click Save. Final thing on this page are the URLs to use when testing as well as in production. If this was live and in production, this is the URL that I would publish and provide to my clients. I have two test URLs. One is just simply called test, and one is called test like production. Before I go into productions, I need to promote all of my components into production. After I do so, I can run with this URL. If I've missed any component, it would give me an error. I would see that I have, and then I can go back and correct it. This is the final URL to use again once before we go live into production. Because we're still testing and have not promoted any of the components, I'm going to be using this URL. Let's open another browser window, type that URL in there, and up comes my document. So the first page that's shown is the e-sign disclosures, which we configured in the package for the client party. So client will click continue and see the actual form. Because there's no fields to fill or signature to sign, he simply has the continue button. When he clicks the continue button, the transaction ends. So that defines the transaction template. Next, we'll go and upgrade all of the components into production. So I ran the tests and everything seems to be working, and now I want to introduce this into production. To do so, I need to upgrade all of my components. The first thing I'll do is my document. I'll find the document that I just created and make test version production by clicking on that button. The same is true with the package. Find the package that I just created and make this test version production. On the transaction template, I'll do something similar. Find the transaction template. I'll need to enable the production, and let's change this into something more realistic, and then click Save. Now I'm ready to test with this test like production URL. When I run with this test, if I have missed a component and had not upgraded it, for example, if the document was not upgraded, the document would not render. Once I see that it's working, then I can now publish the production URL to all my users. Listen to the next video where we modify simple document and add more fields and the signature block. We'll also talk about versioning. Thanks for listening.